this thing started. So, I don't know if any of you will have seen the Economist Intelligence Unit publishes regularly a thing called the Global Uncertainty Index. And it's a fairly crude thing. It's a line that shows some sort of estimate of people's sense of uncertainty across the world as we go. And if you can track this very simple line, and it's quite good, and it's sort of bumping along the bottom until we hit COVID. And then we hit COVID, and there's an enormous great bump, and then it comes down again until around 23. And from 23, it starts spiking. And it's currently many times higher than it was during COVID, and shows no sign of stopping that ascent. And to the extent that that sense of global uncertainty is driven by the arrival of new technologies, and I admit there are a number of other causes in the world of uncertainty, but to the extent that is an effect of technology, my premise this morning is that everybody in this room has some ability, has some opportunity to start to mitigate that wretched sense of uncertainty, which I think is really very difficult for all of us, of whatever age, whatever stage in life, and whatever we're doing. And so many of the speeches I've been hearing already this morning and yesterday give me real optimism that people in this room, people like the people in this room, can help us drive down the uncertainty. So I'm going to speak about AI policy, some ideas that I have about AI policy, and hopefully they'll be at least a little bit controversial, at least some of them. And I look forward to discussing them with you. But I think any discussion of AI policy probably had better start on a note of humility, which is that, needless to say, I have not the faintest idea what AI is going to be like in 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years. And if anybody does, please let me know. I would say, what are the goals of AI policy? And I think there are three fairly obvious goals. One, boost economic performance by heightening our productivity. Two, boost the performance of states, allow civil services and governments to deliver better value for money and better productivity in return for taxpayer money. And three, do so in a way that is safe, that minimizes the wrong kind of disruption. And I think, if we all got together and wrote down our goals for AI, we would probably come up with some variation of those three. I would hope those are fairly uncontroversial. We might emphasize different things, but I doubt we would differ very significantly. But there is a fourth goal. And the fourth goal is not so often acknowledged, at least not by most Western governments. And the fourth goal is something like avoid strategic submission. In other words, recognize that AI at a certain level of capability confers on its developer or on the country where it is developed overwhelming strategic, commercial, economic, military advantage. And that having conferred those advantages, there's almost no ability for anybody else to catch up. So I think that is a very important goal to avoid that, or if you choose a more aggressive expression of that goal, by quoting Vladimir Putin, whoever becomes the leader in this sphere will become the ruler of the world, which is not a very cheerful idea, but I think we have to be aware of the fact that that is a goal for some people. Now, those of us in this room will almost certainly, I hope, I assume, take a view that the pursuit of such a thing is immoral, certainly, and many of us will also take a view that the achievement of such a thing is, at least in the medium term, impossible, and others in the room will have far clearer views on that than me. But nonetheless, the existence of that fourth goal does have some very powerful effects on the rest of our thinking, because so great is the imperative to pursue that fourth unacknowledged goal that it actually starts to crowd out certainly the safety goal. And in fact, I know this because I asked ChatGPT to draw me the game theory matrix, and it did confirm that the incentives are very much against restraint and in favor of pursuit of that goal by whatever means. And I think that is very much, at least in my mind, that creates a certain amount of clarity as to why we are where we are in how we think about AI. I spend a little bit of time thinking about, okay, how can we assess global performance against all of those goals, all 4 of them? And it's very hard to do. I mean, I think in many ways AI is a field that is promising a great deal more than it is delivering. And if I could, I was just reflecting this morning, if I could be permitted a brief moment of levity in a very serious subject. If the collective AI laboratories of the world were to open a restaurant, to go to that restaurant, you would probably have to mortgage your house to eat at the restaurant, and you would be served a sequence of very delicious amuse-bouche, but no main course yet. That would all be promised at some vague point in the future, and you would be constantly having the suspicion that you were being poisoned. So I think the promises of AI are very great. The current delivery of AI, wonderful from an individual level, not very good, in my opinion, for a collective or societal level. And yet, the tantalizing promise remains. And I think particularly as we embark on the journey of physical AI, the tantalizing promise of what is going to be available to us and the abundance and wealth that is going to produce keeps coming back to us. So it continues to be a strange time in which we've invested trillions collectively as a species in order to make or save billions collectively as a species, with the promise of favors to come and a great deal of worry as well. And so how might we assess where we are against those goals in the light of that? I would say goal 1, driving economic productivity and therefore prosperity. I would say, it is very interesting how the sort of performance against these goals maps very tightly to the major trading blocks of the world. So goal 1 and goal 4, I'd give the award to the United States for pursuing both of those, for better or worse. Goal 2, better government delivery. I think, and I'm no expert on China, but my strong belief is that China is probably the strongest about using AI to effectively deliver state services. And goal 3, of course, as we've been hearing from 2 brilliant speeches this morning, is really down to the EU, where they have this very strong emphasis on safety and risk management. Now, it is interesting to me how those emphases break down across the major trading blocks, because largely it makes to me the point that just pursuing one goal out of the 4, or 2 goals out of the 4, is not very useful. You really need an effective policy mix that gets you all 4 of those goals, and not just any one of them. And I don't think that anywhere on earth has yet cracked that policy mix. And I'm going to make a few policy suggestions now, and I do so, as I say, in sort of complete humility. I don't claim to have solved any of these problems, but I think there is an immediate goal to restore people's faith that AI is going to take us places that we would like to go to. And I think that restores people's faith in AI, their confidence, and therefore their ability to adopt it safely. I think it also helps regulators to identify a North Star of some kind. What does good look like when we are regulating AI? So I offer some suggestions as to what might be good. First, can we not, particularly all the countries of Europe have outstanding digital healthcare data. Can we not make better use of that data to drive, and I don't just mean diagnostics, that's non-trivial of course, but to drive operational excellence across the provision of healthcare, to save enormous amount of cost and to improve the experience and to improve our longevity. Cyber defense, I think enough said about that, but there's a great deal more we can be doing to defend ourselves using AI. Can we resolve, please, AI and copyright? I mean, I've wrestled with this a great deal myself, both as a minister and in opposition. My view is that there is an end game, an end goal in sight, which is to have an efficient, functioning marketplace for creative content that everybody can buy and sell creative content in an effective way. And can we not use AI to do this? One more, which is to fix recruiting. Now, there's this very interesting marketplace in recruiting now, which has been completely broken. I really mean completely broken by the misapplication of AI. I don't know if anybody has recently applied for a job, but if you don't believe me when I say this, go this afternoon, make up an identity for yourself and apply for a job and see how far you get. In fact, I would go so far as to say, if we were to pass a law, and I'm not advocating this way, but if we were to pass a law that said no computers may be used in the process of recruiting, from posting a job to finding applicants to interviewing people, not a single computer to be used, we would actually improve the accuracy and the speed and the effectiveness of recruiting. So I think AI has been astonishingly misapplied in this market, and if we could fix it, how much life satisfaction and new productivity would we create by doing that? Anyway, sorry, that's a side point, but that's really one of my great bugbears. Those are all kind of fixes that I think these are solvable problems that we could be working on that create a sense in the public, AI is going to be good for me. And I think that would take us a little bit down the uncertainty curve. I think that would allow regulators to make smarter and well-informed regulations that keep AI safer. Then slightly further out, there are some items that we're going to have to be discussing with great seriousness. The first of those is the universal basic income idea. Now, we are going to come, all of our governments, certainly in Europe, no doubt in the US as well, at some point, it's going to come under a great deal of pressure to provide universal basic income, largely because, frankly, democratic governments love handing out cash. Now, the idea behind UBI, as initially proposed, was in the techno-utopia enabled by AI, in which we have absolute plenty and abundance of everything, nobody needs to work and we'll just make sure everybody is provided with everything they could possibly want. But it's sort of become bastardized in a way to say, okay, as AI comes along, let's start handing out a universal basic income. Now, I personally respond with horror to the idea of a UBI. I think humans need to work. That's what we do. And just surrendering the possibility of work far too early in the process is, I think, poison to our soul, and we must fight it, and we must get our arguments ready to resist the temptations of surrender in this way. My second thing is dual use. I think it is very clear, certainly for European countries, that we are, all of us, going to have to spend more on defense. A very good and efficient way of doing that, in my view, is expanding the use of dual use. Now, you may all tell me, in our country we do lots of dual use, but I have to tell you that in the United Kingdom, we have a kind of magic wall separating defense expenditure and all other kinds of government expenditure. I think we've got to perhaps put that luxury aside. We've got to allow the two sides to be feeding off each other, obviously in a safe and enlightened way, but we can achieve a great deal more together across military and civil uses than we are separately. And my last point, and some of us were talking a bit about this last night, is that governments are very, very bad at procuring new technologies. And if they could be induced to become more efficient at purchasing the products and services of startups, that would not only make the startups themselves a great deal more investable more quickly, but it would make governments more productive more quickly. And I think that would really be a win-win. And we were terrified of procuring the wrong thing at the wrong price in government, but we've got to relax a bit on that and buy more new technology. So let me close with a final thought. And hopefully there's some questions or outright refutations of anything I've said. But my final thought is this: the mad but wonderful futurologist Ray Kurzweil used to say at all of the singularity conferences and the AI conferences that he organized, he would say there's always a path every single member of the audience follows. And it goes, AI, wow. Uh-oh, well, what choice do we have but to carry on as we are? So, you know, you go amazement, panic, resignation. And I absolutely want us all to kick out at that last thing, the resignation. We mustn't panic, but we must not be resigned to just carrying on and drifting into the future of, oh, whatever will be, will be. We can't do that. All of us in the room, whatever stage you're at, all of us in the room, I think, can play a part in preventing that sense of drift into the unknown. Thanks very much.